Hello everybody, welcome to Edwinstowe Fire Station. This is your virtual school trip around our fire station. My name's Jo and I'm a firefighter here at Edwinstowe. What I'm going to do today is show you around some of our fire station, also around our fire engine, and cover some of the things that you might need to know about the Great Fire of London and people who help us. So first of all, this is our kit room. This is where we keep all our fire kit. We collect this at the start of shift and then we bring it through to the appliance bay. So as you can see, we've just got one fire engine at Edwinstowe, and I'm going to show you around all the lockers in a moment, but first of all I'll just show you the crew cab. So this is where 3 firefighters tend to sit in the back. So at the start of shift we're told where we're going to sit in the fire engine. As I said, 3 are in the back, 2 will be nominated as wearing breathing apparatus, so they will sit in the 2 outside seats. They will check their breathing apparatus sets, which involves making sure that the mask fits and that it gets air to them. And what they will also do is they will make sure that it links with the board that I'm going to show you in a bit. And they will also check that their radios work and things like their cable cutters and that kind of thing. The person that is nominated as BA, not the team leader, checks the thermal image camera, and this is to make sure that it's working. Now this is a very special camera. If I can, you can see my face, and that's how we may be able to find the fire or indeed people that we are looking for in the fire. And then there is also the middle person. So if I was sat in the middle, then I would be the person that looks after the BA crew when they're in a fire. So I look after the board, which you'll see in a bit. And also if we go to an RTC, so a road traffic collision, then I'll be the person that's nominated as medic. So I will be giving first aid, looking after the casualty, working with the paramedic. And then onto the front of the fire engine. So this is where the incident commander or officer in charge sits in the front seat. They've got a little computer that will tell them where the incident is. It's got lots more information in that as well. And then obviously in the front seat is the driver, and they have got a very important job because they have to safely get us to any incidents and then be the pump operator once we get to a fire, or they might be sending the radio messages using the radio, which you can't quite see but it's just up there. Okay, so now we're going to have a little look round the fire engine and look at the different lockers. So this is the front offside locker, which is the driver's side, and you can see a few different things in here. Firstly, I'll show you these. These are bags of flood response kit. So we don't just go to fires, we also help people if they are stuck in water, maybe in a ford, or if they've fallen into the river. So these suits in here help to keep us dry and a little bit warm. There's also some helmets in there to protect your head, and life jackets to keep us afloat. So they're in there. And then just down here, firstly, this piece of kit. This is a light portable pump. Okay, it's called a light portable pump, but it's not very light because it takes 4 of us to carry it. But what we can use it for is if we need to get water onto a fire, but we can't get the fire engine close to some water like the river or a lake, then we can carry this pump down there and we can pump water from there. It can also be used to pump from swimming pools. Not ever done that one before. And then this, as some of you will be able to read, it says it's a fan. So this is a great big fan that can blow smoke out of buildings. So it's really useful in house fires and building fires to clear the smoke, make it a lot easier and a lot cooler for our breathing apparatus teams. And then along here, so this is the middle locker, got 2 types of hose. So you can see up here we've got the black hose reel. So the smaller hose, we use that for smaller fires. So we would use it in a house fire, but we'd also use it maybe on a little bin fire or rubbish fire. And then the red hose, which is the bigger hose, we use that on the bigger fires. So that can connect up and connect into the pump, and then we put something called a branch on the end, and that's what squirts all the water. So I'll show you in a minute where they connect to. Then the rear locker, so lots of different things in here. So at the very top we've got a salvage sheet, so if we need to protect any flooring or if we need to funnel water out of a building, we can use that. Loads of lines in that tray there, so rope that we can use to haul things up. This bit is a firefighter's friend, so this is the kettle, so we can put water in there, boil it up and make a nice hot drink if we're on a very long job. And that's got all our tea making stuff in there. And then further down, so in this yellow bag, this has got what's called our safe working at height kit. So if we need to work off a ladder, we've got some ropes and lines that we can use to keep us nice and safe. And then round to the back, so I mentioned before about the red hose, which is like this, plugging into the pump. So it plugs into here, and then you can connect it all up, and then I'll show you in a minute what a branch is that goes on the end. So the pump base changed quite a bit over the last 5 or 10 years, so we've now got a computer which tells us how much water we're pumping out, and this tells us what water's coming out of each different delivery. So a bit of a computer work now. And then I mentioned earlier about if you were sitting in the middle, then you would be the entry control officer. So this is the board that we use to keep a check on where our breathing apparatus wearers are, how much air they've got left, and it helps keep us really safe. So that's a key piece of kit. And then just moving back, looking up, can see all the ladders. So how many ladders do you think we have? Have a little look and a guess. Okay, actually on the top of the fire engine we've got 4. So we've got the 135 ladder, so that goes to about 13 metres, and then you've got the 9 metre ladder, so shorter for smaller buildings, and then up there you've got a short extension ladder and also a roof crawl which allows us to go onto a pitched roof. So 4 is the right answer. However, if any of you said 5, you would also be right, because there is an extra ladder hiding in there, and that's the one we use when we go and fit smoke alarms in people's houses. So it's actually 5. Also, while we're in here, you might just be able to make out in that tray there, that's what's called a longboard. So if we need to get anybody out of a car accident or something like that, keep them nice and straight, then that's what we use, a longboard. So moving round to the rear near side locker. So firstly there's the clean locker kit. So this is where all the medical kit's stored. So mention we go to different jobs, so not just fires, we can also go where we're needed to give some medical help. So in there is all our medical kit along with a defibrillator that we can use if somebody's heart stopped. It's also the place for the driver's kit. And we also keep these E-flares in here, so if we need to make it clear to someone that they can't go across somewhere, or maybe we've opened up a hydrant, so somewhere where someone could tumble down, we can put these E-flares just to warn them. And then just tucked away in here, this is a monitor, so it connects up to the red hose that you saw before into the pump. But what it means we can do is we can squirt water onto a fire without staying near it. So it's good because it moves backwards and forwards like that, and it squirts water onto the fire. I call it the swishy monitor. Along here we've got different tools that we might use to help us maybe get into somewhere, but this is the key one. So this is what we call the big red key, and if we need to get into a building or a house quickly, we can use this to break the door in. And then onto the middle locker, so you'll recognise this is the same as the one the other side. So this means that whichever side the fire's on, we can quickly pull the hose reel off and get some water into it. And I mentioned earlier about branches. So this is a branch, and this is what squirts the water. So it connects into the red hose and then squirts the water onto the fire. And then we've also got this type of branch. So this is a foam branch. So if we ever need to put foam onto a fire, we can use this. And then finally, the front locker. So this is what we call our RTC locker, so road traffic collisions. Okay, so what we do is we would tend to use this piece of kit. So this is a pump, and then we connect the pump to the hose, which is up there, and then the hose into one of these tools. So we've got some spreaders, or we've got some cutters. You might have heard of them being called the jaws of life. What we can do is we can choose which tool we'd like to either cut or spread a door off or a roof off. And when we're using those tools, we need to be really careful of the casualty. So we use this blue thing to put it next to the casualty. It's called a teardrop because it's shaped like a teardrop. I think you can see that. And we use that to protect the casualty so that they don't get any sparks of glass or something on them. And then the rest of the things in this locker are all linked into our RTC work, so lots of blocks of wood to help us. We've also got some lights in case we work in the dark, because you might have noticed that it is dark outside, which leads me on to the shifts that we work. Okay, so moving on to some of your questions. One of the questions we get asked quite a lot is, what shifts do we work, what hours do we work? So at Edwinstowe Fire Station, there's always a fire engine available. We're here 24/7, so 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And there's 4 different watches. There's blue, which is the watch that I'm on. There's red, green and white. And we all work from 7 in the morning till 7 at night, and then 7 at night till 7 in the morning. And we follow a similar pattern. So we do 2 days and then 2 nights, and then we have 4 days off. Okay, we've had another question as well, and it's from Oscar. And Oscar asks us, do we put fires out every day? Okay, so on this fire engine at Edwinstowe, we probably wouldn't have a fire every day. We'd usually have an incident that we have to go to, but it might not be a fire. It might be somebody needing help in the house. It might be a car accident. It might be a chemical incident, that kind of thing. Across Nottinghamshire, I would guess that there's probably at least 1 fire a day that one of our fire engines goes to put out a fire. Great question, Oscar, thank you. So, one of the other questions I get asked quite a lot is, what do you do when you're not going out on jobs? So one of the things that we do is we love going in to visit schools, and that's something that we're missing at the moment, coming out and seeing you guys. And when we go into schools, we do presentations on things like Great Fire of London or people who help us, and we always make sure we include some safety messages. So just a couple of things for you to have a think about. First of all, does anybody know what this is? Okay, I'll show you it that way up. Okay, so hopefully you've all had a chat with whoever you're with, and you might know by now this is a smoke alarm. And what we want is every house to have some of these, and they should be fitted on the ceiling of every level of your house. So if you've got a downstairs and an upstairs, they should be on the ceiling in the hallway downstairs and the ceiling in the hallway on the upstairs. Okay, most importantly, they should have a battery in them so that they're actually working. So this is your first piece of homework, I think. If you can have a chat with the adults that you live with and make sure that you have got a working smoke alarm on the ceiling of each floor of your house. Okay, and to check it works, there's usually a button in the middle of it that you can press. So this one's a nice big button here. Okay, so ask the adult with you to test it by pushing the button. I'll make the noise for you now, but please can you pause this video if you've got any little brothers or sisters fast asleep, because it is quite noisy. Okay, so if you're not too sure about noise, make sure you cover your ears as well. So this is the noise it makes. Okay, now they're all a little bit different. Ours flashes red, ours beeps that number of times, but if you check yours and it makes a nice beeping sound, that should be all okay. So that's your first piece of homework. The other things we often do is have a chat about nighttime routines. Now, I'm not talking about brushing your teeth. What I mean is that before you all go to bed, you should make sure that your doors are closed. So like your sitting room door, your kitchen door, if you've got them, make sure they're closed, and your bedroom doors as well. We talk about staying super safe, so closing those doors, making sure the keys are handy for you to be able to get out the front door if you needed to in an emergency, and also making sure that your exit routes are clear. So any toys on the stairs or near the front door, making sure they're nice and cleared out the way so that you'd easily be able to come down the stairs. So if you ever hear the smoke alarm go off, you need to have a bit of a plan with the adults that you live with. So what are you going to do? Are you going to all meet together at the top of the stairs and then come down together? Are your mums, dads or whoever you live with going to come into your room, get you and then go down the stairs? So come up with a plan so that you know what you would do. Now, if any of this is worrying you or upsetting you, make sure you have a chat with an adult about what you would do if there was a fire. The most important thing, the way to stay super safe, is if your smoke alarm ever goes off, please do not hide. Okay, that's the most important thing, do not hide. Go and find an adult and then get out of the property. What we say is get out, stay out, and call the fire service out. I wonder whether you can say that with your adults nice and loud. Let's do it all together. 1, 2, 3. Get out, stay out, call the fire service out. I reckon that was pretty loud. And I wonder, do you guys know what telephone number you would call in an emergency? That's right, 999. So usually it would be an adult that would make the call, but if there's no adults around and it is an emergency, then you can call 999. And the final thing for you to practice and have a go at is something we call stop, drop and roll. So if you ever got any fire on your clothing, what we want you to do is not run around, we want you to stop, and then we want you to drop to the floor and then roll. So I'm going to demonstrate that and then get the adults with you up and around and see if you can give it a go. Thanks very much.
Sorry.
Okay, so I talked about stop, drop and roll, but it wouldn't be fair for me to not actually demonstrate it, but I want you all to join in with me. So get yourself up off your sofa with your adults that you're with or whoever else is with you. Find a big space. I've not got much room here, but if you can make sure you've got some room. We're going to talk about what happens if your clothes are on fire. So if you pretend I've got some fire on my clothes, you'd be in a bit of a panic, maybe running around. Well, first of all, we want everyone to stop. And then what we want you to do is drop down to the floor, and then we want you to roll like this, backwards and forwards to smother all the flames out. And that's brilliant. Hopefully you've all done that. So if anyone else has any questions, just send us a message and we will do our best to answer them. Thank you very much. So that's the end of our virtual school trip around Edwinstowe Fire Station. Thanks ever so much for joining me. See you next time.